So many other ways you can introduce play.
It's got to be fun for both you and the dog, ultimately.
Don't write off play as something that's sort of, just a meaningless little thing on the side. A really important foundation to a lot of things. There's a little bit of playfulness in every dog, and the dogs that had the play session after the training actually had better memory retention.
In teaching those things, actually just having that game of tug, giving them an outlet to kind of decompress after that learning moment.
It helps building the bond, but having fun, relaxing and having fun with your dog one-to-one.
I guess we've kind of seen the positive impact it has on dogs' lives as well.
Did you know play isn't just fun for your dog? It's one of the most important things you can do to support their well-being. In this episode, we're diving into why play matters, what the science says, and how you can use games to raise a happier and more well-behaved and grounded dog. Before we jump in, a quick reminder that this podcast is brought to you by Tug-E-Nuff. We help dogs thrive through play with toys designed to unlock confidence, focus, and be fun. You can check them out at tugenuff.com. Alright, let's get into it. In this episode, you'll discover why play is far more than just fun. It's essential for your dog's mental and emotional well-being. What the latest research says about the benefits of interactive play, and simple ways to bring more enriching play to your daily routine, or the routine with you and your dog. Today's episode is a little different. I'm joined by two familiar faces here at Tug-E-Nuff, Teresa and Chelsea. Teresa, who is also my mum, is the founder of Tug-E-Nuff, and after years of leading the business, she's now semi-retired, but she still plays a huge part in our mission to help dogs thrive through play. Chelsea worked with us for years. She was the face of customer service here at Tug-E-Nuff until she left to start her own business, Canis Concept, which offers dog training, enrichment walks, and even wedding chaperone services. She still features heavily in Tug-E-Nuff videos, and most of the games videos on our website all feature Chelsea. So let's get started. So before we get into the meat of today's episode, I always like to start off with a really fun question. Well, I think it's fun. Hopefully you guys do as well. The question is, if your dog had a superpower, what would it be? Now, I know between you've got quite a lot of dogs. So maybe just pick one. Tell us their name, what breed they are, and what you think their superpower would be if they had one. Maybe you start, Teresa. Or mum, I should
say. Halo, I think. I think she's a master of manipulation and a right diva to get what she wants.
Okay. So obviously we know who Halo is, what Halo is, who Halo is. Tell us a little bit more about Halo. And
Halo's a Belgian Terrier, and she's 5 years old. And basically just likes to be a princess, really.
Yeah. And how about you, Chelsea? Or how about your dog, I should say, not you?
Yeah, we'll just narrow it down to one. In terms of superpowers, I think Kai, my little Kelpie, he's quite a sneaky dog, so I think his superpower, if he could be anything, would be probably like invisibility, so he could sneak some food off the side when no one was looking. So that would probably be his go-to, because, he's a bit mischievous.
Yeah, that sounds a bit like Tiddly, actually. I think he would, although he doesn't need the invisibility, he'll just find a way or plot a way to get what he wants. That's my dog, my little poodle cross dog, my first dog. Is that who is that?
That's all of them downstairs.
Teresa, you're my mum first of all, but you are the founder of Tug-E-Nuff. Yeah, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your inspiration behind starting Tug-E-Nuff.
Thinking back, it was more with one of the dogs that I had in particular, which was my first collie, who really didn't like to play. She was just very food motivated, which is absolutely fine. But there are things I needed to reward and wanted to reward, but I wanted her to be a bit more excited about it and have a bit more fun. So we just combined, I combined it like a food pouch with a handle, and try to encourage her to get the food, but to actually mouth the food pouch and start tugging.
Okay, awesome. And then, if anybody wants to read a little bit more about that, on the About Us page on our website, we've got the whole story there, and Teresa goes into a lot more detail about that very first toy that we started making. Excellent, thank you. And Chelsea, you used to be our customer service person, and we still work together really closely as our play expert. And if anybody's seen any of our videos, they'll see you probably in most of them. But maybe tell us a little bit more about what you've done since you left Tug-E-Nuff.
So yeah, since leaving Tug-E-Nuff, I've kind of started up it was kind of doing a little bit on long side at the time, but yeah, I've gone sort of full time into my own business, which is Canis Concept. So I offer sort of training, behaviour services, dog walking. I do a little bit of wedding chaperoning as well. I did that last weekend. So basically dog sitting at weddings, which is really fun. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything, but I guess my niche is probably working with sort of nervous and reactive dogs, especially.
Okay. Awesome, perfect, great. So now we've kind of got that out of the way, we can get into the real question. Why is play such a core part of what we do here at Tug-E-Nuff?
I think it's great because it helps building the bond, but having fun, relaxing and having fun with your dog one-to-one. And then also using the play as rewards for training, but predominantly fun.
Yeah, I think it's probably a core part of what we're about as well, mainly because I guess we've seen it firsthand. We've got our own dogs. We've seen it with customers' dogs. In my own business as well, I work with clients, and I guess we've kind of seen the positive impact it has on dogs' lives as well. So I guess that's kind of why the business has been so centered around it, because we can see sort of, the benefits of it firsthand.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of thinking about, the outcomes for the dog handler or the dog guardian. I mean, what does play bring to that part of the relationship, the human side of it?
So for me, I think it's easier to work with dogs once you've got that engagement and that relationship. So it actually it's making the training and all that side more enjoyable for the dog. But I also think if you've got a dog you're constantly kind of in conflict with and battling, and everything feels real hard work when you're training them, you're not enjoying it either. So I think actually having that element of fun put into training, or even if it is just general playtime as well, it just kind of lightens your mood as well, and actually it's easier to enjoy those moments with the dog as well.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And what kind of, how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel when you're interacting with your dog through play, Teresa?
I think you learn a lot about them when you're playing with them as well. And perhaps they do things that you hadn't recognised before as actually being quite clever and smart, and they actually enjoy it, especially new dogs or the puppies, actually starting to introduce that, and just seeing how much they develop as well through being able to play.
You've just got a new puppy, so how have you been introducing play, and how have you been harnessing that for what you're looking to try and achieve eventually with Trio?
Most puppies generally when they're young will want to have their mouths around something and tug at something, quite often your clothes or your hands and things. So we've been doing a lot of like persuading by tugging on appropriate things like the toys, but I think it's important to take it slowly when they're young. Obviously not too vigorously playing with them, but actually getting down to their level and actually getting them to have behaviours, and then starting to introduce the toy as a reward, so you're not all using food. So yeah, he's coming along really, really nicely. Really enjoys tugging. It's quite interesting. So it's about getting the appropriate ones as well, the appropriate toys.
And this is probably a question for Chelsea, but what does the science actually say about play and its benefits for dogs?
So yeah, it's quite interesting because there's quite a lot of crossover between child development and puppy development as well with play. So there's a lot of sort of early years kids stuff as well, is all developed around learning through play as well. But in terms of how puppies develop, sort of Teresa already kind of mentioned, they play sort of within the litter, and they naturally have that ability and that drive and want to play while they're really young. It helps them develop sort of loads of skills, so their motor skills, coordination. It helps them learn to communicate with other dogs. It helps them learn to deal with stress and things like that. But there's been loads of studies as well. There was actually a study, I think going to say University of Lincoln, but I might not be right with that one. That they did a study where they would train a dog to do a task, and they had to identify a particular object, and they were just random objects, and they had to keep going to the right object each time, and they get rewarded. So they taught 2 sets of dogs to do it. On one set, once they finished the exercise, they learnt the exercise, they just went and rested. On the other group, what they did afterwards is they gave the dogs a 10-minute play session, and then they came back to it at a later point, and the dogs that had the play session after the training actually had better memory retention, and they learnt the task quicker. So when they were asked to repeat it, they were able to do so much better and a lot more efficiently than the dog that had rest after, which I thought was quite an interesting study.
Yeah, definitely. And that really kind of bolsters what we always say in especially in a lot of the games videos that we play in teaching those things. Actually, just having that game of tug, although it sounds like you're maybe potentially making building the arousal levels, actually what you're doing is you're giving them an outlet to kind of decompress after that learning moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just was quite interesting, because we always think of, as well, of using play within the training session, but I guess even if it doesn't fit kind of correctly in what you're teaching, so I don't know, you're doing nice calm weights or something like that, so you don't really want to hype them up with the Tug-E, but actually at the end of the session they could still have that play, and actually if that helps sort of that memory retention, actually you can still utilize it in that way. Even if maybe a tug reward isn't appropriate for that particular behavior, you could still use food but utilize tug in another way, or a different form of play. It doesn't have to be tug. And
do you think that play is sometimes overlooked by dog owners as a real training or bonding tool?
I think so. I think especially with how social media is now, and it's all you go on sort of TikTok or Instagram reels, and it's people doing flashy obedience and hill work, and you go, oh my god, that's dog training, that's what I aspire to the dog training to be. But I think you kind of overlook sort of that engagement, relationship and play are sort of the foundations for all of that. You're not seeing actually those people doing fancy heel work have built sort of toy drive and food drive and all those sorts of things, and that relationship before being able to get that behavior. And I think people see finished products and they don't realize actually the foundations that go in, actually play can be a huge part of it.
I totally agree.
And I think that so Teresa, you do a lot of it, and you, Chelsea, sorry, you do agility quite a lot with your dogs. So I think in terms of when you're looking, I mean, obviously that's something that you've tried to that you've put a lot of training effort into. But the foundations of that, how do you use play to kind of build those foundations to start that getting your dogs motivated to go around that course?
I think initially you have to start off small, being able to use the toy as a reward for anything. So I'd already want a little bit of toy focus in the first place, so I'd need to know that my dog is definitely going to find it rewarding after doing the tasks that I've asked. But I equally wouldn't want to do a whole training session and any rewards at the end. Or they need to be able to manage their arousal as well. But yes, I think toys for training, lots of things I would use, but I would equally use food sometimes as well, but probably toys mainly.
Yeah, it's kind of getting the balance, I guess.
It is, yeah.
Teresa's saying, because agility is kind of you want motivation and you want speed, but I guess when you're teaching skills, sometimes you want to break it down, you want them thinking a bit more, so you might do a bit of food, and then once they've got the understanding of the skill, then you build the toy in to get the drive and the speed back up when you're teaching it.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of really talks to one of the games that we have on our website, the time trials, because it's about that building those the patience, I guess, in between wanting to have that game of tug. You can try. So if anybody hasn't seen it, it's on the game section of the Tug-E-Nuff website, and later on we'll give you a link to download an ebook which has all of those games in it. But it's linking different behaviors and seeing how many you can link in between that game of tug. And I think it's a really great game to put all of what we just talked about into practice. For sure. So thinking about games and the games that we play with our dogs, I mean, what are some of the common mistakes that people make when it comes to play and introducing play into their dog's life?
think I could list quite a few. But I think probably one is kind of like comparing too much of what they think like play and toy drive is, and kind of looking at other dogs and not adapting to their own dog. I think people who have multiple dogs are probably guilty of this. So my two most recent dogs couldn't be further apart in sort of how they act. So I've got my Malinois that was born with crazy toy drive, and then I've got my little rescue Welsh sheepdog who's very, very timid. But if I tried to play with my little Welsh sheepdog the way I play with my Mallie, he'd probably shut down and find it almost confrontational, because Tide likes a real rough and tumble, and he likes to be thrown around a little bit when he's playing tug, and he really likes that sort of energy. Whereas with Kit, it's very, very sedate, and I've got to let him win quite frequently. If I let Tide win too often, he's like, this is boring, give me a fight for the toy. So I think, a lot of people make the mistake of, oh, my dog's not playing like that dog, oh, is it not playing right? But actually they're just playing what suits them. And I think it's us learning to adapt and match the dog, and not assuming every dog wants to be thrown around with the tuggy, and some of them want to chase, and some of them want to go off and win it for a little bit and parade it. And I think it's the issue comes on our part that we don't recognize what they want a lot of the time.
I think it's about not recognizing those key points, that actually the dog's not enjoying it the way you're doing it. And equally, I think if you have, I don't know, if you have a particular breed of dog and it's brilliant at play, there's not too much work involved in you trying to get the right sort of toy drive, and then you get another dog, same breed, it's not necessarily going to be the same in the play. It might be the complete opposite, a bit like Kit and Tide, although they're not the same breed. But I think people make the same mistake when they have the same breed.
Exactly.
They think, oh, that one does it, why does this one not do it? And I think that happens more often than what you actually think. And I know that from what I've got now, out of the 3 collies that I've got now, that they are all different.
And then I think we can quite often not take the responsibility ourselves. We quite often put it onto the dog, and we go, oh, the dog's got an issue with this, and I'm like, has the dog got an issue, or are we just not recognizing what the dog needs? And actually we need to adapt ourselves, not the dog.
That was one of the things that sprung to mind when you were just talking, Chelsea. It's how much do you think the dog responds to you than the not necessarily the effort, but how you're matching them and the game that they're wanting to play? I mean, how do you think that affects it? I mean, if somebody was, oh, my dog doesn't play, but actually you were just holding the toy up to the dog and not really kind of trying to get the dog to play, how much do you think that impacts on the play?
It's a lot. I think me and Teresa have clocked it probably as well when we've done trade stands where people go, oh, look, here's a toy, and they shove it on the dog's nose, and then the dog's like, whoa, what's that? And actually people go, oh, it's not interested because I've just shoved it in its face and it's not taking it. But if you think about like dogs as sort of predators, they're not gonna, like, if they were hunting something's not going to just jump on the end of their nose, is it? So, and all that play and prey sort of interlinks. So they would be stalking it. They would be trying to pounce on it. So just kind of shoving it under the nose isn't doing anything for the dog, really, is it? So.
And I think just like we were just saying just a minute ago as well, it's not actually understanding or knowing your dog's emotions as well, because some like you to be highly exciting and make silly noises and jump around, and they like that, and they will build on that. And some of those are the ones that actually are the standoff ones initially. They just need you to lighten up and be silly. But equally, you can have another dog that you do that same to, and that's way too much because it'll up their arousal way too much. So they'll still play, but not how you really want them to play, through their arousal. But I think it is us a lot of the time. It is us not knowing the dog that you've got, and how to think outside the box as well when you're trying to get them to interact with you. Likewise,
I think when you said obviously some dogs, when you go too excited, their arousal goes up. I have the opposite with Kit, like I said, the nervous little one.
Yeah.
If I go OTT with him, he kind of gets overwhelmed and he shuts down and he backs away. And so when I was introducing toys with him, I'd use Chaser sort of toy, and I used to be very quiet and I just kind of flick it, like how you play. I always think of how you play with a cat. These toys. And so I kind of just flick it once, and then I'd wait, and we kind of wait and we pause, and then I'd move it really slowly, and then I flick it again. And that was what he needed. If I was going, go on, get it, he'd be like, oh, too much pressure for him. So again, it's just adapting, isn't it?
I think that's really interesting in terms of thinking about what is going on when the dog is engaging in that game, and thinking about that prey drive is definitely really where you're gonna, looking at those things that motivate your dog to. It's a really interesting point. So why might games like Fetch, which is synonymous with dog ownership, be ideal for all dogs, and are there any better alternatives?
I don't play Fetch in the way that I think most people would think of it as a game, because I think a lot of people would think Fetch is get a tennis ball or a ball, throw it, bring it back, throw it, bring it back, and that's really it, repetitively. I don't do that, even though I'm sure like the collies would love it, but mainly because they'll just keep going. They won't know when they're exhausted. And if you keep doing that repeatedly over the years, it's damage to their joints and things. And plus, it's got to be a bit boring, isn't it, for you? Just stood there throwing a ball. You're not really interacting very much. But I will do Fetch, as in I might throw the toy out, but I'd get my dog to sit and wait, throw the toy, tell them they can go and get it, bring it back, and then we'd have a game of tug.
I think as well, when you've got working breeds, like Teresa's already touched on, they'd go all day with it. And I think, especially for the herding breeds, I think there's that sort of tendency for it to slip into sort of a kind of damagingly obsessive behaviour. My guys, they really like Fetch, but I guess the times I tend to do it is I use the bob toy, actually. So we go to the beach, we throw it in the sea, and they go and swim for it. But then it's physical sort of exercise and stuff like that, but lower impact because they're swimming rather than running and jumping. Especially with like my Mally, he will launch himself and he'll backflip over to try and catch a tennis ball. So it's much safer throwing it into water. He can then swim and enjoy himself. Again, I do similar to Teresa. I might get my dogs to sit. I'll throw their Tug-E usually into sort of long grass, and then they go and seek it out. So again, it's a bit more mental enrichment, not just physical. But I think Fetch it's fun. If the dogs enjoy it, it's fun. You can use it, but I think it's just using it sensibly. I think everything in moderation is fine. But it's just what works for your dog. And just because someone really likes something doesn't mean they should have it all the time. I absolutely love a Big Mac. That's my guilty food. But if I had a Big Mac every day, it's probably not very good for me. But in moderation, it's all right on the way back from an agility show. So
definitely. This question for both of you. Any favourite toys or games you'd recommend for beginners or dogs, or beginners basically, anybody that hasn't played with Tug-E-Nuff toys before? Any games that they haven't tried with the toys that they've got? What would you recommend? What's your favourites?
My favourite is a chaser.
Okay.
For especially to start a dog off playing Tuggy, and puppies and shorter dogs, and dogs that have never learned to actually play. I think you can create so much more movement naturally. With that, it's on the ground. They don't need to keep jumping up to get to grab it. I just think it's easier to entice a dog to play with a chaser to start it off. And for recall training, it's probably one of the best ones to start with, and then later on you can move to shorter ones and still reward the recall, not necessarily with a chaser. But chaser's my favourite.
So when you say it's great for teaching recall, why is it so good for teaching recall?
Because again, it's on the floor. The bite area will be on the floor. You can wiggle it, or you can simulate that it's prey. Basically, and then it's easier to recall your dog, get their attention, show them that, and run away from them so that they see that as like prey, I guess.
Yeah.
Running
so they're chasing that instead of something you don't want them to chase.
I don't want them to chase the actual rabbit. I'd rather want them to chase after the chaser that I'm pulling behind me. Yeah. And then obviously Tuggy when they get there, because, you know, it's all part of that prey drive as well, isn't it? And it makes it more fun for them, makes it much more rewarding. So yeah.
Makes you a part of the game as well. I think
Absolutely.
I think that's what's nice as well, because I see a lot of people when I mention sort of in classes as well about using toys for recall, they're like, oh, but my dog loves a ball. And I was like, but if you think about actually rewarding with a ball for recall, when the dog runs towards you, you're then rewarding them away from you again. So actually all the reinforcements coming away from, like, I know they're kind of initiating it from you, but all the reinforcements away from you again. So actually, sort of the Tuggies for recall. Nice, because they're actively involved in the game with you then.
Yeah, definitely.
How about you, Chelsea? What's your...
Teresa's beating me to it. So my default is probably for people that have never done sort of Tuggy style games, then I usually go for a chaser as well. I do a lot of work with families as well, so people with young kids. I think the chasers are then a nice safe option for younger kids to get involved with bitey puppies, because the hands are far away from the bit that the puppy should be biting. But I guess in terms of games, it's not necessarily a game, but what I really like to do is when I'm first teaching sort of engagement with toys, is I actually kind of put myself in a really boring room or like a hallway or something where there's not much that can distract the dog, and I sort of just toss the toy away a little bit. As soon as the puppy or the dog picks it up, I'm like, yay! And I don't even try and play tug initially. I'm just kind of making excitement about you're interacting with the toy, and they bring it towards me. I don't even tug it to begin with. I just fuss the dog while it's holding it, tell the dog they're great. And so it's not necessarily a game, but I guess just that kind of moment where there's nothing else, there's no distractions, it's just me, the dog, and the toy, and we're just kind of having that sort of play, both kind of with the toy, but kind of personal play as well. And I think, that's kind of the bit I enjoy the most, is kind of building that first stages of sort of play drive, which is...
That's exactly what I'm doing at the minute with the pup. I go in the kitchen, it's only tiny, the gate's shut, it's just me and him and whatever I've got. And it is about the distractions, isn't it, really? You limit in the distractions so they concentrate more on you and the Tuggy or whatever it is you're actually doing with them in there. So I do exactly the same thing.
And I mean, we talked a little bit about some games there, but as I mentioned previously, we've got a whole ebook which you can download for free on our website. We will put a link to where you can get hold of that in the show notes. So any real life examples either of you've got where play has transformed a dog's life? Now that sounds a bit grand, but it may be something that changed a behaviour that was unwanted, or built confidence. But really great, maybe for one of your own dogs, that would be really great to hear about.
I guess I kind of touched on it already, is Kit, our newest little rescue. So he came, we rescued him. He basically had a very isolated life. He'd kind of been kept in a crate. He hadn't seen much by the time we got him at about 4 or 5 months old. He'd had no socialisation. So he was scared of me. He hadn't been in the house properly. So even the TV going on, he was terrified of. I used play initially to help sort of build his confidence around me, first of all. But even now, so we're sort of like, we're about a year on, and he's still quite a timid little dog. I think he'll always be that way now, but he's come on leaps and bounds. But what I tend to do is, if we go into new environments, he's very overwhelmed initially. And I guess a lot of people go, oh, we need to go and train in different environments. However, for him, if I go to a new environment and I start trying to get him to do tricks or even just simple sits and waits, he's going to just shut down. It's too much for him. So I've used play as sort of my initial gauge of when he's comfortable enough we can start training. So if I go to a new place, I get his favourite toy out. He might not want it straight away, that's fine. So we just kind of take it all in. We do a little bit of movement. Usually a chaser or something like that is his go-to. I know we're bigging up the chaser on this podcast today. I'll use this sort of chaser. Once he can start playing with that a little bit and settle into it, I know he's comfortable enough. And then I'll just introduce little tiny bits of training in that play session. But for me, that's kind of my gauge of actually he's comfortable enough to do some work now. If he can't play and he's not happy taking a reward, then I probably know training is pointless anyway, because he's too overwhelmed and he's too shut down. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been using it with my newest little rescue.
I've had similar really with 2 dogs that weren't confident, even as puppies. So I had them, they weren't rescues, they both were, I did get them both as puppies. One of them just pick something up, or you'd go upstairs, he'd forget, and he'd basically have a little bit of a meltdown. But it was just using a bit of play and a bit of focus, gently, like Chelsea was saying. There's no point in trying to do it in the moment, because the moment's too late sometimes. But you need to find the right area to start doing it, and bring it at a level where they can actually go, okay, that's not that scary, and engage with you. And over time, I expect Chelsea's found the same. It pays long run, even if it takes quite a while to get there. Nothing happens straight away.
Yeah, I think as well what I've done before. So I had a client's dog that was really reactive. He was quite touch sensitive. He had pain issues, and actually we did play stations, and so we'd work around the barn. But what we were also trying to do at the same time was muzzle conditioning. So we turned everything in, like everything was like different stations of games, and then we, in amongst that play, we had one station which was put your nose in the muzzle, get a treat, and then we play Tug-E with you. But because it was all like centered around different games, that quite quickly became part of the games as well. So it was really nice and easy to slip something in that the dog found a bit scary and overwhelming. It didn't like this weird muzzle on its face, but because it was sandwiched in between loads of sort of play things, it barely noticed. He's like, oh, this must be part of the game as well.
It's really interesting that you mentioned muzzles. I think the episode prior to this one is with Annie from the Muzzle Movement, and that's one of the things that that she was saying is around, desensitizing dogs around a muzzle. Even if they don't need it now, they might need it in the future, whether that's a vet trip or something like that. So it's just really interesting how you could use these types of games that we've talked about to desensitize them to if you ever needed to put them in a muzzle at any point in the future. So that's really, really interesting.
Absolutely. I think as well, going back to muzzle training, I think what you've already said as a preventative thing, I think it's important. I've got one dog that wears a muzzle anytime she's out and about, but all of my dogs are muzzle trained. The newest one, not yet. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. But yeah, again, anything you need to train, I'm pretty sure there's ways you can implement play into that, which is nice.
So this is a question that I know, because I answer quite a lot of the customer service emails, and so does Teresa, and obviously you used to as well, Chelsea. But a lot of people will say to us, my dog just isn't into toys or doesn't play. What can I do? But do you actually believe that's true, or do you think that there's what do you think about that when people say to you, my dog just isn't into playing with toys?
I think there's a level of play in majority of dogs, I would say, if not all of them, but it's just finding that actual level of play. And I think it just goes back to what we were saying earlier, that different dogs play in different ways and find different things exciting. And also, again, like we've already said, it's about us, how we implement and initiate the play as well. Because if you put too much pressure on, they're not going to want to interact. But also accepting that some you will never get to tug furiously. You will never get that. That's not what they enjoy. But you might get some that like a little bit of tug, and then just to walk around with it in their mouth for a little bit, and then bring it back again and play a little bit of tug again, and nothing ferocious. Again, it's about knowing your dog, isn't it, really, and what actually excites them.
I think as well, I know obviously being a tug toy brand, we do focus on tug, but obviously there's so many other ways you can introduce play, and eventually that could lead on to building up to tug play. Like I think as well, like we've got food toys, we've got like the clam and stuff like that. even if they're not interested in the clam initially, you can play with food. So like doing food throws and things like that, and actually movement with food can make it more exciting, or even just personal play as well. So I know a lot of people in the dog sport community, maybe more pet people might not be so excited by this, but like jumping up and having a little bit of bit of play that way. So my guys, when I initially start playing with them, quite often my dogs don't jump up as a general rule, but when they're engaged and I tell them they can jump up, they quite like it. They jump up and I push them away, and they jump up and I push them away, and we have a bit of a game like that. And so it can be personal play as well as sort of if they're not initially into toys, but just building sort of that sort of energy and that excitement and that playful behaviour, and then you can probably start filtering the toys into that as well.
It's about what you're happy with, but also what your dog's happy with doing, isn't it? It's definitely a two-way street there. Okay, so finally, what's one thing that every dog owner should remember about the thing that we talk about all the time, which is the power of play?
Having fun. But it's got to be fun for both you and the dog ultimately. And with that becomes a higher level of trust, really, in the bonds between you and the dog. But the trust, I think, from the dog.
Yeah, I think I would probably say it's something always worth pursuing. And I think even if don't write off play as something that's sort of just a meaningless little thing on the side. I think it's a really important foundation to a lot of things, and there will be, like Teresa said, there's a little bit of playfulness in every dog. I think it's just trying to find what their little niche is, and I think you'll reap loads of benefits if you can sort of develop those skills and establish that relationship through play.
I think that's a great takeaway, that one word, fun, and I think that's really what it should all be about. And yes, there's some great outcomes aside from having fun, in terms of building that relationship we talked about quite a lot, but also helping to aid any learnings that the dogs are doing. I think one of the things that we've said quite a lot lately is not even knowing your training, it's just through play, but actually using that as a great way to expand your dog's life as well, actually. If anybody wants to go and find a little bit more about you, Chelsea, and Canis Concept, where can they go?
Probably just sort of Facebook, Canis Concept Training Behaviour, or my website as well, so canisconcept.co.uk.
Awesome. And anybody that wants to find a little bit more about Teresa, we've got our About Us page, which kind of tells the story of where Tug-E-Nuff came from and where Teresa got the idea or the inspiration from to start. So thank you, Teresa and Chelsea, for joining me on this week's episode. It's always great to chat about the core of what Tug-E-Nuff is about, and it really does matter, as we've kind of focused on for sure. So if you're listening, why not try a new game with your dog this week? So go to the link in the show notes, download that free games ebook. It could be the thing that shifts their focus or builds their confidence, as we've talked about, or just have a bit of fun, which is always great. And if you're looking for practical tools and toys to support your dog's confidence, head to Tug-E-Nuff.com, where we've got a whole range designed to make enrichment easy and enjoyable. We've also got a toy quest quiz, so if you're not sure what toy to buy your dog, you can answer a few questions about them and we will narrow down the selection. And you can listen to Positive Playtime on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. But thank you for joining us again, and until next time, happy tugging.